Well, folks, in today's live stream, we're going to be working on this Bachmann Spectrum Amtrak F40PH. This was sent in about a year ago from a guy named Andrew from Cambridge, Ontario. And unfortunately, this locomotive doesn't run, at least not entirely. It does move a little bit on the track, but it either has a slipping drive shaft or a missing drive shaft because it's just sliding forward, but it sounds like something is definitely dragging. Anyway, I'll take this thing over to the track so I can show all of you what it's currently doing, and then we'll try to open it up and see if we can fix anything on it. Hopefully it's not missing a drive shaft, because otherwise we're going to have to go looking for parts. Hopefully it's still in there if it's popped out of place, but I really don't know what to expect with this thing. And we've already got 63 people in here. Somebody's asking if I'm running Doom. Well, this thing could be some Doom, so yeah, we'll see if we can run it on the layout. Dundas Junction, welcome. I'm rail fanning right now. That's cool. Anyway, let's see what she'll do for us here. Now, I have seen this problem on a couple Bachmanns before. I did a live stream probably about 8 months ago where I worked on a Bachmann Dash 8, which had a slipping drive shaft, so it might have the same issue, but if we give it some power here, you can see like it's moving forward, but this is half throttle. Like, it should be flying right now. And yeah, I believe it's the front trucks which are moving. I'll see if I can get a bit of a better angle on this. See if I can get some light on it here. Don't do anything. Yeah, so the front trucks are rotating. The back ones are completely stagnant, so they're clearly the issue here. So I guess we'll just open it up and figure out why that is. Hopefully something hasn't jammed the gearbox. That would be pretty bad. The light is flashing. Okay, that's good. I believe to open one of these up, you have to remove the fuel cell, and we're going to have to remove at least one coupler because that goes through the plow. And I guess we're working with a split frame, so I'm guessing this model was probably made sometime in maybe the mid to late 90s. When did you get the locomotive? I think it was 2023. We got a screw here and a screw here. Remove this front coupler first, and we'll try to remove those. There's one. Is this the version with the flashing strobes? It seems to be one of them. It's one thing that Bachmann was pretty good at the time, which was adding flashing lights in their locomotives. Like for the 80s and 90s, from what I've been told, that was a pretty cool feature. Yeah, there we go. What the heck is going on there? Looks like something's been chewing up the metal a little bit. That's kind of strange. Got a conductor and engineer. So far I'm not seeing anything's missing. You can see that the drive shafts are intact, so that's good. The front truck is actually, like, it feels a little bit more loose than the back one, so I'm kind of surprised that that's the problem. If we kind of look down in there, yeah, I'm not seeing anything in this area, so maybe we are missing a drive shaft. I need a smaller tool to get in there. I'm train spotting right now. Cardiff Railway Station in Australia. All the way around the world, that's cool. Oh man, look, there's more of it. Look at that. Looks like some kind of coastal arrangement. But yeah, I'm not seeing any drive shaft in here. So I want to check too, it's not like kind of stuck in a weird spot. Yeah, I'm guessing that that is long gone, unfortunately. At least we got the front one intact. This seems to be pretty well in place, so I guess we're just gonna have to go looking for parts for this thing. I might have some because it was probably about 2 years ago I parted out an old Bachmann. It wasn't a Spectrum, but I think it was a 2000s model, so maybe it would have shared parts with it. It wasn't the same kind of locomotive, though. I think it was a Pennsylvania Railroad diesel of some sort. I don't really remember what, but yeah, let's see. I'll show you the model I'm talking about, if I can find it here. Yeah, a couple years ago, I think it was 2022, I bought a engine which kind of looked like this. And this one's actually a Spectrum as well, so I don't know. Go digging through the parts bin and see if we can find that. The modern Bachmann GP7 uses the same Bloomberg truck. Okay, well, hopefully that means that they were using generic parts for this. Let's go through our parts bin here. Bachmann rarely retools any of their older stock. You should be in luck. I hope so. Thank you for the super chat, the Fourth Stooge. What's your favorite locomotive? It's got to be the Rivarossi Hiawatha. Just such a legendary locomotive. Okay, so this is the chassis, or at least half of it. Unfortunately, this truck is intact, but I don't see any drive shaft. I wouldn't have thrown that out, so I'm guessing that it is still in here somewhere. I'm gonna have to have a look. That's the other half. That was actually part of the shell right there. Oh, we might be in luck. I don't know where the drive shaft went off that one, but this might be what we've called for. It looks very similar. I'll take the whole thing because we might need some other parts off this. There, I put down the tripod somewhere. I'll probably hold it over there. My parents make fun of me because I like watching Golden Girls at 16 years old. What's wrong with watching Golden Girls? That's a great show. Midwest Miniature Lines, my birthday's tomorrow. Happy birthday in advance. Although I shouldn't do that because in German that's bad luck. Just ask my grandmother. Let's see if that will slot in there. It's looking good. I just gotta position the motor like that. Truck covers are different. They should use EMD covers, not Alco. Yeah, so I see what you're talking about, but I think that the actual like design of the truck itself, not the side frames, but the actual like motor, well, not the motor design, but the gear case, Looks very similar, so hopefully this will work. Don't know if that's actually slotted into place yet or not. If I do this, we should be able to see. Yeah, it is turning over. I guess I'll just throw the screw back into place here and we'll see if that actually got it working. Probably still be good to pull the trucks off and just throw some new oil in there. But yeah, if that was all that was wrong with this engine, that would be great. I'm getting a Rapido E8 via Locomotive on Friday. That's exciting. We watch old TV shows all the time. I love the older shows. I'm not sure if that is actually lined up there or not. I wonder if the length of the drive shaft is different. That could be trouble. Uh-oh. Oh no. Well, that's a problem. I've got an idea. You see what I'm thinking? That's a bit bad, bud. So we can just find like a piece of heat shrink that's just large enough to fit around this. It's like a similar length. I think we can probably just kind of size up the drive shaft here and make this work. That will be a good second layer. Yeah. This is the tricky spot. That will do. Yeah, it might. Gonna try to cut 2 different layers. We'll double up the strength. It'd be good if we could find a type of plastic to fill in the center here. I don't know if I have something like that in my on the table parts bin. That would be good, but it's also a good drive shaft, so I don't know if I want to go sacrificing that just yet. I have an old 2882 that has a fan motor in it. What motor would it use? I'm not sure. I haven't seen that before. I have seen some diesels that have operating fans which actually run off like the drive shaft, whole like pulley system, but never seen a HO scale model that actually has a fan built into the motor. It's kind of a good idea. It would help circulate the air and cool it, but it's kind of a weird thing. It's a plastic wheel, so I really would not have any problems with taking some plastic from that. Yeah, this is definitely a little bit smaller. I mean, we've seen that it can turn over the truck, so I think this could work, but definitely not the same part. How much is a soldering iron? You can find them pretty cheap. I think you can get yourself a budget one for 30 bucks. Might be worth investing a little more, but you don't have to break the bank if, you know, trying to keep the hobby on a budget. Yeah, might work. How old are lifelike locomotives? I think lifelike started production in 1969, so some of them are about 56. The latest ones would be from 2016, because I think that's when Walters quit making them. I have to cut this down a little bit as well. SMT, can you recommend a brand of CA glue? I usually just buy whatever the dollar store is selling, but I find Gorilla Glue has the best kind of CA. It's a little bit more expensive, but it is definitely quality. Plus, it's part of a name brand, you know. They have a little bit more of a reputation to protect, so I do find that helps a little bit. What's your opinion on the old QSI sounds that MTH used in their Proto 1 sound-equipped locomotives, steam locomotives? I'm not familiar with that on their steam locomotives, but I will say that the older sound systems on MTH engines be a little bit finicky. I mean, really, any older like sound system in terms of DCC. The early days of DCC sound were very patchy. Decoders have come a very long way. I think that might be stopping us. There's just a little bit of flashing there. See how those measure up. Yeah, not quite. Hello from the UK, welcome. Is that an F40 Spectrum? Yeah, it is a Spectrum model. There's definitely still some space in there. You can kind of see it flexing. If I took maybe a smaller screwdriver, if we can get that just to go a little further. Throw that thing in the garbage. It's a split frame piece of crap. They're the worst. Let's give it a chance. I'm not the biggest fan of split frames myself, but I have the parts possibly to fix it, so I'm gonna throw at it everything I can, although I don't know if just moving this around created enough friction to help the heat shrink kind of seal into place, but this is now gripping, which it wasn't when I started, so that's kind of interesting. Yeah, I think that's cooked. I can't believe you're actually motivated to fix something like this. Yeah, that is a good question. Let's see if I can find a slightly smaller piece of plastic, which hopefully won't kind of get caught like the other one did. He always is, I think. Yeah, I mean, some of these things, it's really about the result, right? Like, you put some effort into it, and it will hopefully work. I mean, I've worked on a Bachmann split frame first generation GS4, and those, compared to this, are like 10 times worse. So, you know, if I can get through that, this shouldn't be too bad. Probably shouldn't say that until it's actually on the track running, but I think there's some hope. I'm not at the doom point quite just yet. Remember, some people can't buy expensive stuff. I mean, yeah, that's a good point, although you could definitely buy an old Athearn probably for the same money as one of these Spectrums, and dollars to donuts, it's probably going to be a lot more reliable. Some of these Spectrums can run okay. It's the drive shafts and the little mounts for the trucks themselves that are always the point of failure. I've seen a couple with bad motors, but that's definitely not as common. Fixing trains is part of the hobby. You're pretty good at it. I can't wait to see you get this thing going around the layout. Bachmann is super expensive. Go on their website. Check out how expensive replacement parts are. This Locomotive is very pricey, actually. Yeah, but you can buy these old Spectrums from the 90s at a train show for like $15. Like, you know, the upfront cost is not that bad, but from a reliability standpoint, again, I think an old Athearn would probably do you better. And just locate some good plastic to get this drive shaft back together. I'll be a happy camper. I don't know. Let's check out this parts bin. It's worth fixing. They run pretty good. I hope the axles are not cracked. Hopefully not. That might be a good candidate for more drive shaft parts. It's going to be pretty funny if I manage to get this thing running with part of a wheel set as the drive shaft. Let's see if any of those will work. So, let's see if we can kind of clean cut that. Do you have any tips for fixing steam locomotives? Check the valve gear. Like, actually look at the locomotive from upside down and just see if anything's bent out of shape, because I've seen a lot of them where one rod will be bent and it will mess up the whole engine. So it turns out this is a little bit thicker than the original drive shaft, so it doesn't want to fit into this. So I guess we're just going to have to keep looking for plastic wheel sets to destroy. Luckily, since I don't really like running plastic wheel sets, they're about a dime a dozen around here. So I have no doubt that if I keep looking through this parts bin, we're going to find something that's going to be a better candidate. That's not. This could be it. Why not 3D printing? If I was doing a video, I might use the 3D printer, but for a live stream, trying to design the right size of part and then print the part would take quite a long time, so this will hopefully save time. That looks pretty darn close right there, so let's see if that will fit. At least you're not dealing with the crappy pancake gear. I have like 5 or 6 of the Bachmann locomotives from the 90s with broken gears. Yeah, they definitely did make improvements with the Spectrum series. Having said that, I don't know if this is exactly going to work great. Yeah, I think this is just one size too small there. Let's see if we've got another there. Got 2 kinds of red tubing. I don't know if these are identical. Yes, they are. Just kind of need like an in-between here. I have another pack of this stuff. I'm going to go see if I can find it, because if we can throw that at it, it might have kind of a better size, because if you can put 2 layers of heat shrink tubing, it will work a lot better. So that's a size up, but is the red in this pack a size down? Yep. Yeah, there we go. Somebody just donated a $50 super chat? What the heck? It's Dawn. Hello, SMT. Just dropping by to say hi. Keep up the good work. Well, thank you so much for the very generous super chat there, Dawn. Good grief, I was not expecting that. That's crazy. RBP trains plus SMT mainline. Who's with me? Okay, let's see how that compares to the original. Looks pretty smack on in my opinion. So now we just need to grab a lighter, and we're just gonna do a little bit of heat shrink in here. It's quite important that the heat supplied evenly and not for too long, because of course the plastic is also prone to warping. So I just need to get this to all kind of shrink together nice and even. Could have used brass tube instead. If I had the right size, yeah, it might work. You're going to like this, the fact that the former Northern Pacific Depot in Red Lodge, Montana, that has been converted to Carbon Country Arts Guild. I have no idea what that is. Do you have any advice on getting a Via Rail decal stencil for some coaches I'm painting? I would check eBay. There's a ton of sellers with stencil kits and decal sets. I bought some before. The only thing I would suggest, though, is that a lot of people will suggest that you use hot water for a long period of time. Warm water is good, but make sure you let it soak for longer than they suggest by a couple minutes, because what I found with decals is that if you follow these specifications, they don't dampen quick enough, and then they end up actually tearing. That's the only thing I've had problems with. Is eBay that reliable, though? I would say 9 out of every 10 orders off eBay are good. But yeah, 1 in 10 is definitely a dud, where you're dealing with just not very good seller. It can be random, though. Like, there was this one time I bought a locomotive from someone. It arrived, everything was good. And then the second time I bought actually a variety of things from them, and it never arrived. And they said that they tried to call me, which was nonsense, because, you know, I went through like my call history. I couldn't find any evidence of that. They were located in California. I have family in California, so if I'd seen a call coming in from Cali, I would have answered it, you know. And they just said, your order was returned and we resold it. So they had resold my item without giving me a refund. And then I tried to file a dispute with eBay, and then they actually refused it and said, you know, it wasn't buyer protected. Luckily, through PayPal, I was able to file a second dispute, and I ended up winning that case. But that was probably one of the worst scams well, I don't know if I'd call it a scam, but one of the worst customer service experiences I've had, because, you know, not only had they not actually contacted me, but they had resold my item without giving me a refund. Don't know how legal that is, but that's what they did. I'm sorry that happened. Well, I don't care. I got my money back, but like, you know, if I hadn't used PayPal, I feel like I probably would have been out of that order. And it was an expensive one. I think it was like $200. And it's too bad, because there are some eBay sellers. Like, there was another time where that happened, where like the item got shipped back, and the guy called me up. We sorted it out. Everything was fine. So hopefully this will kind of slide into place here. Okay, I think the drive shaft is in place. I'm going to throw a screw in there. I'll turn it over manually. We'll make sure it's actually working here. I had one of these things before. The plastic absolutely disintegrated on the thing. Well, I mean, knowing Bachmann's and quality assurance, you know, there definitely are some duds out there. All the wheels seem to be turning. Take it over to the track and actually make sure it's following what it looks like it's doing here on the bench. But I feel like the chances are decent here. Definitely seems better than it did before. Let's see how it corners. Reverse seems good. Let's try it out in the other direction just to be sure. What's better, Bachmann or Hornby? I would say Hornby. I know Hornby has come out with some really bad models, but if my life depended on it, I would probably pick Hornby. I'm a Bachmann kind of guy. Well, like, I don't know. Some people say I'm a Bachmann hater, and I mean, like, you know, I definitely do have some issues with their quality, but I have some Bachmann models which are very important to me, you know, like, I grew up with them and stuff, and they're nostalgic, so I don't, like, hate everything about the brand. It's just certain choices they made in their design, which I'm a little like, yeah, they could have done better. Having said that, we seem to have this one working here. I think I'm going to pull off the truck covers just so we can throw some new oil in there, because I don't know what that whole situation is looking like, but I'd really like just to make sure that, you know, we can get ahead of what could possibly go wrong, and yeah, it does look kind of dry, so a little bit of label will not hurt it. Matthew Fields, new subscriber. Kristen Hell, I'm a proud Bachmann hater. I feel like Bachmann is one of those companies in the community that people either love or love to hate. Not a lot of people on the in-between. The only thing I will give Bachmann credit for is, like, they're kind of one of the last manufacturers still making train sets, at least on a budget. I know Walthers still has a couple train sets, but like, almost all the manufacturers used to have some kind of train set, and it seems like they've gotten out of that. Like, you know, Athearn used to have their own starter set. That's gone. And you know, I don't think that train sets are the most profitable thing for any company, but I feel like it's one of those things where, okay, maybe you sell the train set at break even, or you sell it at a slight loss, but then you get somebody in the hobby who's going to buy new things, you know? So it kind of seems like a bad spot for companies to cut back. You need to program a decoder so that when you press F2 on your Bachmann, it says cheap, cheap, cheap. It's kind of cool that you can remove the shell. You just have these two contacts which just come down, and then that controls the whole lighting system. I really like when you can remove a shell from a locomotive. Some manufacturers just solder right to the board. What radius curve do you have on your layout by the controllers? It's 22 radius. Do you have any recommendations for making for controllers when you're building your first model railroad? It really depends on what you're trying to do. So if you want to have really realistic operations with ops and stuff, and you're running multiple locomotives in a yard or something, DCC no doubt. Or if you're part of like a train club, I would also recommend DCC. If you just want to run some trains around in a circuit, go with DC. It's cheaper, it's a lot simpler, a lot less to go wrong, which I really like about it. In terms of controllers specifically, though, probably the DCS52. NCE also makes some really good controllers. There's definitely a lot of debate in the community. That's a very political issue, I would say. The only thing I would point out, though, is that I did do a poll, and Digitrax kind of blew NCE out of the water, so I don't know if that really is where the community kind of stands. But yeah, I leave that choice in terms of DCC controllers up to you. In terms of DC controllers, probably an MRC product, but I would go with something above the 1300 series, so I'd probably recommend getting at least a Tech 2. I'll see if I can find some replacement Bachmann couplers so we can actually throw some knuckles on this thing. You can spend an inordinate amount of time super detailing your Bachmann just for views. Is that a trend on YouTube these days? Some people might not recommend throwing these Easy Make couplers, but they're Bachmann, so it's OEM. What's your opinion on the IHC Camelback locomotives? Honestly, they're adorable. They're pretty good. I've had a lot of good experiences with the IHC Mahano steam engines. The only problem I ever had with one of their Camelbacks was one of the metal tires did shed the wheel once. Wasn't a huge problem. I just put some crazy glue around it and then pressed it back into place, and it's been fine ever since. But that was a little bit of a strange problem. At my club in St. Charles, MRC, I got a Digitrax. It was confusing because the remote had 32 buttons. I hope you do a video on repairing the Tyco AHC streetcar someday. I don't know if it'll be a video, but probably either a short or a live stream. That looks pretty good there. How did you get the locomotive holder? A lot of hobby shops sell these things. This one was gifted to me from Mark from M&M Rails. But my local hobby shop, Hobby House, does sell them, and I've also seen them at a few other hobby stores. Pretty good tools, I would say, for working on locomotives. The only thing I will say is that you do have to be careful, because some brass engines that have a lot of details, you see how there's like tears out of this? It's because stuff snags, and luckily it's torn the foam out instead of ripping off the details, but that's the only concern I've had working with these. Just because they grip so far around the side of the locomotive. Try making an engine kit. Funny you say that. Funny you say that. I'm planning on releasing a video pretty soon of visiting the Prescott train show. And while I was at that train show, I found a locomotive kit. I think it was $10 or something. I think it was a roundhouse kit, which, you know, is actually pretty good. So yeah, it'll probably be a video of trying to build one of those kits. I did one years ago, and it turned out all right, but I have a feeling probably put something together a little bit better today. Gonna go ahead and remove that. He has a cat and a dog. Yeah, you got the Nerf cat and Mabby dog. Okay, let's see how this thing goes. If it runs right, there's matching cars, which I think would look great with this. Starts right up. Lights are working. Do you have Amtrak passenger cars? Yeah, I sure do. Keeping up a pretty good top speed. Number boards are lit. All looks good. See if we can find the matching cars for this. I think they were down here. Are you still moving into the garage? I mean, that would be ideal, but there's still water, unfortunately, getting in there. Coupler discrepancy really does not look great there. I don't know if that's gonna work. If I just tighten that down, it might fix it. Better. I have a feeling these are going to disconnect on either one of these switches or on that straightaway, but we'll give them a chance. Yeah, stayed together. Good enough. Time for some rail fanning. Hi everyone, this is Harrison Trainline Productions here. Today we're on the Midwest subdivision, and we're going to be looking out for Amfleet cars. There it is. Does it go honk honk? No, it doesn't have any sound features. How about the old school Amtrak cars? I could try looking for them. Let's run out to the garage. I'll see if they're in there, and if they're not, I'll check the shelves on the side. So I can confirm they're not in the garage. This must be in the storage section. They're either down in one of those cupboards or probably in the back 40. Yeah, I don't see them on that side either, so they got to be down in one of those shelves. You're gonna do a video on the Casey Jones locomotive? It's possible. Well, that thing ran pretty well right out of the gate, so I don't know. There's the Shikansen set and the New York Central cars, and also the 2 River Aussies from that Rust video. So it's not in there. That's all the British stuff up here. We got Via Rail, some of the TGV cars. Huh. If I maybe gave them their own shelf. That's possible. Do you have any Ontario Northland trains? I've got at least one of their locomotives. Well, looky here, I did organize them. Got the big boy running on the other line there as well. Do B units still exist? I don't think they're very common. Getting this thing running was a nightmare. I've never seen an engine with quite so many electrical issues. Have you been to Larkspur lately? I haven't been to Larkspur since April. I went there for my birthday. The store is currently for sale at the moment. The owner wants to retire. I'm considering converting to DCC. I'm considering converting my DCC ready Athearn Genesis models to DCC. Any tips? Also, how hard is it? Not that difficult. The trickiest part with a DCC ready engine is just actually getting down to the decoder. But DCC ready basically means that there's like a plug on a circuit board. It's an 8-pin socket, and you pull that out and you just plug the decoder in. So that part's pretty easy. It just depends on how tricky it is to actually get down to that circuit board. But, in a lot of cases, there are tutorials on how to do that, so I wouldn't be too worried about it. Trying to hardwire a decoder in is definitely a little bit more tricky. What is the number of the big boy? This one's 4011. I don't know why that derailed. Very strange. Any tips on where to buy model trains? If you can find a train show in your area, then that's almost always number one. Good old brick and mortar train stores can be good. I mean, it depends kind of store to store, but a lot of them have decent prices. And third, I would probably say is like Facebook Marketplace and like buy and sell groups. You can definitely find some good deals in those every once in a while. eBay and online stores can be okay, but I just find that there's more demand than there is supply, and as a result, I find the prices are a lot worse. Sometimes you can find a good deal on eBay. I just don't find it super common. Do I see a new owner moving in there? I mean, if you're talking about if I want to buy the store, Probably not. I have nothing against the place. It's a terrific store, but I think they want $400,000 just for the business with the inventory and stuff. So that's like without a building or anything. I don't have that kind of money, so I'm definitely not going to be the next owner. If you know anything about somebody possibly buying a store, though, that would be great. I hope somebody can continue the business there, because I think it's been established since either the 70s or 80s, so you know, it's got quite a history behind it. Have you seen the silent film Sherlock Jr. 1924 starring Buster Keaton? I haven't seen that one. I've seen a lot of Buster Keaton stuff, but I don't think I have. I don't understand why these cars are all derailing in that same spot. Weird. I thought it was just that one car that had a problem, but something's a little off. Since Union Pacific and Norfolk Southern are merging, do you think we will see the big boy around Horseshoe Curve? I don't know if Horseshoe Curve can actually handle the big boy, because I know the big boy needs very wide radiuses. That was actually part of the controversy when they were moving the big boy up to Scranton, Pennsylvania, which is that they were running it through curves which were sharper than it was meant to go through. So I don't know, but it's not impossible if it's physically capable of doing so, because I mean that's kind of what Canadian Pacific did, running a train from Canada to Mexico to celebrate the merger. So maybe if that goes through with Union Pacific, maybe they'll run the big boy through some of Norfolk Southern's lines. Who knows? Let's see if I can spot myself. What is causing this to go wrong? And of course, when I drag them through, no problem. Maybe they're just going too fast. Let's run this thing at like train show speed. We'll go, I don't know, 35%. We get a railfan view. Yeah, sure. We got a railfan derailment view. Oh, it's derailing there. Two of them. Now the big boy just hit that other car off the track. So there's something about this level crossing that the cars are snagging on. I don't know what. And not all of them are, which is also kind of weird. You mean to say, oh no? Yeah, exactly. I need to put together an entire narrative as to why the freight train hit that arbor. Sebastian DeYoung, yeah. Check the pin height. That's a good point. I wonder if they're snagging. We know that this car is part of the problem, so I guess we'll get it on the track. Let's see if it clears the switch. Yeah. I don't remember it having this problem last time I had it out, so it's a little weird. I'll say running this through that there is a little bit of a kind of a bump feeling there. I don't know. Let's try her again. Okay. Success. Let's see it actually going through at speed. Hopefully it doesn't derail with the big boy passing right beside it. Tabber slack. But it has improved, because at least this time the first car didn't derail. So what we're gonna do now, take this and just run it right along here. There goes the Volkswagen. Let's do some, the big boy's gonna crash into that. That's nice. Fantastic. We're just gonna run this through. Just clear anything that might be in the way out of the way, and we'll see if that fixes it. It's the observation car. Yeah, it's just funny that before there were two cars derailing, this time only one derailed. There goes the Volkswagen Das Auto. Something I'm just thinking is if the weight inside this car is loose. No. That one does have a loose weight, but is this car? No, that one's secure. If the weight was out of balance, that could definitely cause some weird things to happen. Could be the coupler not centering properly. Yeah, it's entirely possible. This could just be a coincidence. Do you know Scott Rail videos? Yeah, that Scottish guy, I think he is. He makes pretty good content. Yeah, and just in time for the big boy to crash into it again. That's nice. Okay, let's see what's the matter with this thing. This is starting to make me kind of angry here. So first of all, let's confirm, is the coupler stuck? Nope, and it's pivoting fine. I'm gonna cut off that just in case it's the problem here. Okay, bad news. It just took the whole thing right off, so I'm just gonna leave that car out and hopefully we won't have any derailment problems without it. That last car is the prime suspect. It could be. The coupler's doing its job. Let's try it without it. I can see the track flexing when the big boy comes around. So it's got so much weight. He thinks he will not collab with him. Did you say that? Uh-oh. SMT Railway. Gotta love that the second that I eliminate the troubled car, the first one starts derailing again. It's, hi Harrison, yeah, you did get my name right. Is the track completely level at the turn? I think so, unless it flexed. The other cars didn't have a problem there. Yeah, okay, sure. Wheels could be out of gauge. Yes. Someone's putting the nerd emoji. Yeah, I hate to say it. I think I figured out what the problem is. It's a lot stupider than I could have imagined. Oh no! The Amtrak just throw its drive shaft, or did the motor? No, the drive shaft's fine. That sounds bad. That or the it's having commutator issues now. Oh, Bachmann. How can you do this to me? But yeah, the problem with the passenger cars, I think, is that I was probably running these for a long time before I put them into storage, and there's a fair buildup of carbon deposits on the wheels. So I think what might be going on is that this has just built up past the point where it's actually kind of overriding the flanges, and I think that that is probably why these things are derailing there. As for this thing acting up, I'm a little disappointed. I hope that's not the drive shaft I put together that failed. Something's not right with it. Normal Bachmann activity. Yeah, no kidding. The front wheels that have failed this time. I don't know if I'm inclined to do a full-blown repair on this again, but I'm curious why I did that. Hammer, please. The thing is, I would just not be here doing this kind of video on an Athearn. It just wouldn't happen. Looks like it's still in place. I guess it did. Just double check that current draw issue doesn't have anything to do with that, because I just find it weird that the current draw went really high while that happened. I mean, there is more friction in the motor, there's definitely no doubt of that, if one of the drive shafts is slipping, but just want to make sure that, you know, there's not another problem. It doesn't sound awesome, but that's all right. I find Bachmann guilty. How many UK trains do you own? Probably around 25 or 30. Yeah, it's strange. It just went bad on one side. I think that the piece of plastic I put in the middle might have been off-centered a little bit, so there might have been a little bit less grip on one side than the other. Maybe that's why this failed. Either way, we just kind of need to repeat the process, but with a little bit less plastic this time, and I think things are going to be all right. How many Amtrak locomotives do you own? I'd say probably about 10. Can you glue the shaft? That's what I'm thinking. We'll use the heat shrink tubing a second time, but first of all, I'm gonna cut back the plastic. Just so there's a little more room. Also add some Gorilla Glue. Bachmann is a perfect name for them. Yeah, I tend to agree with that. What about metal tubing? Metal tubing would probably be a good idea, but I don't know if I have the right size. I'll take a wood dowel and insert it in the middle of the heat shrink. It's actually still doing a pretty good job at gripping this part of the plastic. How do you keep track of all your locomotives? Do you use something like JMRI? Not really. A lot of it I just remember. Sometimes if I'm really unsure as to where something came from or what the timeline was, I'll just look up the video it was featured, but anything that predates the channel, I could remember. I could remember where I bought it, what year it was. Just gonna shave off a little bit of plastic there. Thank you so much for the super chat, D Blue. Bachmann Spectrum locomotives are tricky on their performance. Yeah, I'm starting to agree with that. I believe these are both sizes of red. Yeah, maybe. They look like different shades, so that's why I'm kind of inclined to think that, unless this is it. Yes. Red is good. Welcome, Sparky. Just, yeah, we'll try to do that. Although I don't know if that's, this first piece is long enough, so I'll grab another one. Just gonna need to go find a phone charger because mine is starting to run kind of low, and this thing is pretty old. I don't know when it's gonna cut out, so I'm just gonna, yeah, I'm gonna go see if I can find one of those. Okay. I think it's charging. What's the best way to start a layout? I would probably recommend making a list of everything that you want before you go building anything. I found that cutting around the plastic, if you need to squeeze around the ends again. Have you ever worked with S-scale before? I have worked with S-scale. Not a crazy amount, but I find S scale kind of fascinating because it really is like, it's not only the scale in between HO and O, but it quite literally is, as like O scale, you know, uses 3 rails, which are run on AC power, and HO uses 2 rails, which are usually run on DC power, and S scale uses 2 rails that are run on AC, so it really is the hybrid scale. I'm not sure if it's gonna kind of continue to be made, because it seems like people kind of want to go one way or another with it. But I guess if somebody was really unsure, that's what they could do. So I'm gonna put a big old glob right on the end here. And then once this is slid in there, I'm hoping that it will kind of solidify it. This could be a disastrous idea, but yeah, let's try it anyway. Now, how close are we to factory specifications? 5 good enoughs out of 10. If you really want to kind of like overdo it, could probably even put like an extra layer of crazy glue on the outside of this, just so that it's like bonded on both ends. Let that dry for a second here. Let's do one more check. Looks good. Have you used heat shrink around the drive shaft before? It looks like a good idea. It has worked in the past. It's, you know, not always ideal, but if you put a few layers of it, it definitely makes it a lot stronger. Like if you just use one layer of heat shrink, it's never going to be enough, but use 2, 3 layers combined with a bit of crazy glue, I find it can make a pretty solid connection. I've done that on some engines and they're still running years later, so definitely doesn't seem awful. That seems to be turning pretty well, so that's good. I'd use a steel rod and drill at each end, encase it, and then apply heat shrink tubing. The rod is too weak. See, that's dried up. Not quite. What's your advice for putting DCC into older HO scale locomotives? If you're gonna add DCC to an older engine, the first thing I would check is the current draw. Just make sure that it's not pulling too many amps, and make sure there are no underlying issues, because there's this belief out there that adding DCC to a locomotive can help fix performance issues, and because you can vary how much voltage the motor starts with, that's true to a very small extent, but fundamentally, I find that if you have an engine that has problems and you add DCC to it, you're just adding more things to go wrong. So definitely make sure you have an engine which is already running well, and make sure it's not pulling too many amps. And if it is pulling too many amps, figure out how to lower the amp draw, add some neodymium magnets to it or something. Technic Lego has rods of different sizes and lengths, make help with certain repairs. It's an interesting idea. I know some guys use Lego bricks when putting together HO scale buildings to help hold the structures together. It's like when they're gluing like two sides to a building together, they put a brick in the middle and add that. It's a similar plastic. You have finer control with DCC compared to DC, but if the locomotive has a split gear or something like that, no amount of programming is going to fix that. Yeah, and I would also argue too, like if you have an engine where it's not picking up power properly, like DCC is going to make that even worse, just because like some decoders, if there's a short or there's a loss of power, will cut power to the motor for a couple seconds. So for an engine which has electrical issues already, like it's just going to add more stuff. As you know, the Lego Ottawa store is there. I've never been there before. I've driven past it on the Queensway a couple times, but never been in there. I went to the Lego store in New York eons ago. That was 2013. That was pretty cool. Probably check to make sure the wheels are all actually turning here. They are. That's good. SMT Hershey factory is not the one in PA. The Hershey factory I built a model of is of their Smith Falls operation, but the Smith Falls operation was actually a miniature version of the PA operation, so it was sort of funny because Hershey's had never built a factory outside of Pennsylvania when they were moving into Canada for the first time. They didn't know how to build a smaller version of the operation, so they weren't sure if they should like kind of make it more efficient or anything like that. So they literally just ported over all of like the 1930s era technology into their new factory. So even though it was all new equipment, the technology was actually really old. And when they built their third factory in Oakdale, California, they actually had learned a lot from the Smith Falls plant, and they were able to actually build a bit of a more modern factory because of it. Apparently, they had a lot of problems, though, because they couldn't... they had a lot of their workers from Pennsylvania go down to their plant in Smith Falls to try to make sure when they were getting it up and running that the flavor and the quality was the same. The quality was fine, but they could not get the flavor the same, and they kept trying different things, including they actually sent a milk truck from Pennsylvania to the factory in Smith Falls to see if it was just the flavor of the milk that was making the chocolate taste different, and that also didn't change it, so they never figured out why the flavors were different, but it didn't really matter because the sales were doing okay in Canada, so they were just like, okay, well, I guess we've got a different blend for Canada now. Speaking of Hershey, do you have a Hershey tank car or rolling stock? I've got about probably 30 different Hershey-themed cars. I got the Tyco ones, but somebody sent me a whole bunch of custom ones about 4 years ago. Some custom ones. Some of them are really rare, too, so that was quite special. Oakdale still has a Magneto flagman, aka a wigwag. I hate to say it, I think the new drive shaft has failed a second time, but it's okay because we've got adhesives in there, so we just need to let those set for a while. Tomorrow this engine will be perfect. How long did it take you to build your mini factory? I remember when you were in the final process. It was a very slow procedure to put this whole thing together. For a few reasons. First of all, I had to find all the materials, like how to find HO scale corrugated metal and HO scale brick, and you know, there are other things. Like some of this was actually just built out of like card stock and things like that. So finding the material took a long time, and then on top of that, scaling everything down took a really long time because every single measurement on the building had to be scaled down. So I'd go on Google Earth and I'd measure from here to here, and then here to here, and here to here, and here, and then I'd scale it all down, and then I'd measure then from top to bottom. So it was a very slow process. I think it took, I started in 2019. I started actually putting the building itself together in 2020, and then I finished in the summer of 2023. So it took about 3.5 years. But yeah, I remember I think I spent an entire week just building the office. And there were several times too where I'd start building something and then I'd realize I'd made a math mistake with the actual like scale. And then I'd have to rip it all apart and do it all over again. So anyway, it was a labor of love. I can't say I really enjoyed the process of building it, but I'm really happy with the results. Every time I walk down here, I'm like, yeah, there it is. But as for this thing, yeah, I think I'm gonna have to figure out a new solution for this. So right now it just sounds like a really angry mosquito, so not so good. Just need to run it at train show speeds and no one will know. I love when people custom paint for media, YouTube and Minecraft, Mario Kart and stuff like that. Sounds like an air raid siren. Well, if ever there's a tornado coming this way, I know what engine to run. I'm kind of surprised that it held up for like, I don't know, a half hour the first time, and the second time using the exact same method plus crazy glue, it held up for an even kind of smaller period of time. It's possible I just didn't give the crazy glue enough time to dry, and that if I let this thing actually properly set, it would be okay. But yeah, I would have expected it a little bit better. Put a bonding agent inside the flywheel and connect the flywheel to the gear using a set metal rod. I mean, I think really the best thing to do would just be to find a replacement drive rod and go through. I do have some K&S brass, so I could probably try crafting one of those together. But I mean, if the problem is that it's not actually gripping the material properly, I think it might actually come down to scratching up the plastic. So if I scraped up the drive shafts, they might just have a little bit more for it to grab onto, because it could just be that the plastic is so slick that even with the CA in there, it can't properly grip. Can it go faster? Is it that slow? It was running faster before, but now it seems like if I give it a little bit too much fuel, it starts to slip. Kind of like a boat with a spun prop hub. That's why I hate split frames. I'm new to HO and I have an N scale Bachmann Locomotive. It isn't that good. Athearn's good, I'll buy it. No, there's no traction tires on it. I really think it's just that drive shaft that's slipping again. Too much force. Yeah, I mean, now it's kind of gained that traction back again, but I really think so. Do you like coffee when you run trains? Usually start my day off with like some Nestle instant coffee. I drink Maxwell. Instant coffee is great stuff. It's cheap. You don't have to drive anywhere for it. A lot of people say it doesn't taste good, but honestly, it's funny because we've had people over and they ask for a cup of coffee and, you know, they don't see that it's instant coffee and they're like, what kind of, like, Nespresso pods do you use? There are no pods. Let her go, give it up. Yeah, let's throw it in the garbage. I don't like that. You see that? That thing is, it's taking the torque. So maybe this time something else failed. Uh-huh. Great, cool. Wonder if that happened on this side as well. This one's better, but it's also slipping. Every day. Give it up, send it to the scrappy. The thing is, this is not my first rodeo with one of these Bachmanns, and I've seen this happen before where the section kind of starts to slip. Not sure if I should pull that out, honestly. I feel like that could lead to some trouble, but if I get a flatheads behind this, I can probably pull that out. Yeah, it hardly took any effort. What a surprise. Bachmann engines are really not doing themselves any favors. See, if we just really scratch up this metal, we're going to make it really abrasive. If that's something to grip onto, and then as for this, kind of just do the same process. This will be a long live stream. You've opted for a Bachmann. It will end in a headache. I don't know if I can deny that. Just do more live streams where I work on like nice stuff like Athearns. Those never let me down. At least you're not working on an engine with zinc pest. It doesn't have zinc pest. This one does have some kind of other weird reaction going on. I'm not sure what that is. But Bachmann's older engines did have zinc pest. They're ones from the 70s. You'd open some of them up and they'd be pretty gnarly. I'm planning on building my own layout someday, but I don't have my own place. Any recommendations on what I could get away with for acquiring, just for now, buildings or locomotives? Well, I mean, if you're gonna start with something, it would probably just be like a loop of track that you can take apart and put back together. I mean, as for locomotives, if you're on a budget, old Athearn engines are good. Old Atlas engines are good. Cato engines are usually a little bit newer, but if you can find one at a train show for like 30, 40 bucks, those are pretty darn decent. I'm sure there's some other brands out there, which I'm forgetting. Walther's Trainline. If you want to buy something that's like new, but will serve you well, I find the Trainline engines are pretty good. You can find one of those for like 80 bucks. That seems good. I find in terms of like finding space for a layout though, like if you have like a bed, you know, the space under a bed can sometimes be enough for a layout or an old garage or something. Like I find you can sometimes get creative or build a layout that you can just put up against the wall like when you're done with it. Like there are ways, like if you're in an apartment or a small house, you know, you can build something that doesn't take up too much room. Getting out the CA is never a good sign. Yeah, looks good and scratched. Do you have any Camelback locomotives? I have at least 2 of them. So I don't think anything else on there is slipping. That's good. I recently went to Strasbourg and there was a train shop that had some pretty cool trains and stuff. If you ever visit there, I suggest you check it out. I definitely want to go to Strasbourg at some point. I don't have any plans for the near future per se, but it's on my bucket list, that's for sure. He's gone this far. This episode will be a super detailing of Bachmann. Yeah, I might have gone too far behind enemy lines with this one. Is there any good brands for generic looking buildings? I think Walther's has some kind of like sort of Midwest town, average downtown sort of structures. Other than that, I'm not sure. There is one company that I think makes like modern buildings, like you can buy like strip malls and dollar stores and stuff, if that's what you're talking about. I think I made a little mistake with these two screws here. Whoops. In my ultimate layout, I want to try to keep as much brand consistently as I can. So we can see that this is not slipping. So you can put like a crazy amount of torque. It does start to twist that, but unless this is jumping out of gear, which, you know, maybe it is. Like if this is twisting, could be pulling this out. I don't really see any reason why that would be a problem. So, let's see if I can find that other screw there. There we are. Can't forget the choo-choo barn in Strattsburg. I found out a couple months ago that the railroad, which I grew up with, it used to go by like my grandfather's place. It actually had an attachment to Strattsburg because they used to send it was a steam engine, it was a Swedish E2. And when the locomotive's tires on the front wheel set and a couple of the other wheel sets needed to get replaced, they would take them off the engine and mail them up to Strattsburg. So I guess Strattsburg actually had the proper technology to lathe the wheels. Okay, let's see, is everything turning? Yeah, good. Another layer of heat shrink, or would it be too thick? That's my concern, because if you make a drive shaft too thick, when the engine goes to corner, sometimes there are things nearby it can actually start to hit. If the drive shaft's a little bit too wide. Let's see if it will run like that. If this doesn't fix it, I think I'll finish off the live stream, but I feel a little bit better about it this time. I think I've kind of covered off most of the troubled areas. Okay, let's see here. Is it gonna do that when it goes into this first corner? I'm waiting to hear we got a runner. Yeah, see, I was worried if I said it, it would just do that again. So I don't know what would be slipping at this point. The only thing I can figure is that that heat shrink is just twisting enough for it to actually pop out of gear, and then that's why it's doing that. Very strange. It will work now. I mean, it got like the most solid 15 feet I've ever seen. It's definitely not slipping, so it must just be, I think what's going on is it twists a little bit, these get closer together, and then it must be hopping out of gear. I'll see if I have my K&S metals around here, but I'm not sure if there's the right size in there. Maybe. See, unfortunately this time, it's actually like attached a little too well. Run a bead of heat shrink across. If you run heat shrink over the top, it will cause this to become out of balance. So I can't do that, but I can at least cut this off of here and see if we can get some metal tubing in here. Metal definitely would be better. I just don't know if I have the right size or not. The heat shrink will kind of just form to whatever size you need. You don't have to be too particular. So that's a nope. The same size again, yeah. This copper one is probably also a little bit too small. Yeah. Might be in luck. We trim it around there. This is where things get tricky because, of course, can't squish the metal here. And very carefully just go around. Let's weaken this a little. Steam team. You need one of those tools that a plumber has. They run it around a few times. You don't have a hacksaw. I have one, but the blade is pretty dull. A rotary tool. Yeah, I just don't want to be making too much noise after dark. I mean, I could take this off into the garage and do that, but I don't know. See if I can find a blade. It might be sharp enough to cut through this. I got some good news. I actually found my new blade. New. It's not as bad as the blade I thought I had. Just gonna do this. I'm sure this blade is probably bad, but it's pretty soft metal. It should chew right through this. All this for a Bachmann engine. Yeah, 2 hours later. Could be worse, could be a lifelike locomotive. Yeah, that thing was pretty bad too. This is the best repair video yet. What's that movie? It's called The Never-Ending Story. This will be the never-ending repair. I really have to thank Bachmann. You know, if manufacturers all made their stuff too reliable, and most of my videos are about repairs, like, I wouldn't be able to make videos about anything. And like, you just have Bachmann engines and they just give you the weirdest problems. And yeah, it keeps the lights on around here. Gotta thank them. Thank you, Kader. Without you, I would just unbox trains. I see it starting to wobble. I think we're cutting through it. All Kato, no SMT repairs. Yeah. Kind of noticed of all brands that Kato has hardly ever been featured on the channel. That's probably why. So now all we have to do see if we can get that in there. Yeah, I think this is gonna be okay. Just gonna tidy up the edges a little. Just gotta Dremel that out a little. I think that's the problem here. I'd love to see these things running on the stream tonight. Well, the funny part is this thing ran for probably 20 minutes to like a half hour and everything was fine. And then one of the drive shafts started slipping. Put some glue in there, prevented it from slipping, and then it developed a new problem. So there really is no winning. Okay, very good. So this time what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna I don't wanna kind of go too crazy with this, but I'm just gonna add some little indentations just so that the glue has something to grab onto, because what I don't want is for it to slip inside this metal sleeve here. Let's put some little tiny indents. Let's add some glue. Making a split frame DCC not worth it. You need an N-scale decoder unless you want to start milling the frame. Yeah, that would be really tricky. Looks good. I DCC my Bachmann GP30 for sentimental reasons. Yeah, I get that. Duct tape fixes everything. Yeah, we need red-green here. He'd know what to do. We'll let that set for a hot minute there, and meanwhile we'll get this back into place here. We have to get out the WD-40. Don't say that in a model railroading form. I think if you wanted to upset an entire model railroading club, the best thing to do would just be to haul a can of WD-40 in there and just say, "Hey everybody, I'm here to oil up your trains." Water displacement for, formula 40. Yeah, well that's the thing. It's not very much of an oil. I think it's 30% Croil or something like that, which I believe is a fish-based oil. Okay, let's see how this guy's doing. Yeah, it's holding torque. That's good. Swear this thing better work. I'm not going to be very happy if it doesn't start. It cannot bend except the plastic. Metal does not bond well. Well, the drive shaft is not supposed to bend. Like if a drive shaft has too much flex in it, it will vibrate. So that might be good. In terms of it bonding though, I don't think it's gonna have a problem there. I don't know. Crazy Glue does claim to be a an adhesive which bonds to plastic and metal. We'll see, I guess. Get the hammer ready in case. That's a good idea. Well, it's not in perfect balance, but it's working. I don't know what could have happened this time. We did everything. We gave it the metal. We worked on the other two encasings. This thing truly wants to be thrown into a wall. It does not want to be on this earth. Unbelievable. I don't think I'm going to try to fix it again, but I do want to see why that happened. Is it just because the adhesive slipped, or did it jump out of gear? Like, well, why? smash it. No, it's holding up. Looks about right. The only last thing I can figure is that maybe it's actually like turning within the sleeve on this side. I don't know. I don't know, but this whole thing is doing its job. And that is too. And these two parts right here are not exactly like the same size, and maybe the thinner material is not enough to kind of grip inside there, so maybe slowly it's just becoming loose, and that's why it keeps kind of jumping out. Because under like a low amount of torque, it seems okay, but you know, the metal is not going to flex. Like before, when it was doing that, I was like, okay, that will shorten it. That makes sense, but it doesn't make sense that this would get any shorter when it's strained. So yeah, really weird stuff. Try putting power directly to it. Well, it's clearly a drivetrain issue. The only thing I can figure is that when it's actually under load, something is slipping. See if we can get it back together. Okay, so that's where we want that. Just gonna try putting some strain on it manually. See if we can kind of get it that way. Just figure out where it's failing. Don't you suppose it might be where the flywheels are? That's what I'm starting to think, yeah. There we go. So if we turn this over and just apply some weight, yeah, like that's fighting pretty hard. It's still turning. I pull it back too. Still turning. If we tilt it up, no, tilt it down, still turning. I'm so confused. Stuff the flywheels with sticky putty. Grab the nibs on the end. Let's see if I can grab my lifelike controller, and what I'm going to try doing is I'm going to try putting a track eraser to one of these wheels really hard, and we'll see if we can get it to jump out and figure out what it's doing here. Okay, let's see if we can totally jam this thing up. Okay, full throttle. Hmm. It's turning. We can stop the motor when we put something to it, so we know it's not jumping out of gear. So why on the track is it not performing the same? Just like, I don't know, try to run this thing on the bench, see if it... Did you try turning it back on and off again? It's quicksand, get out while you can. I'm just more curious at this point, like what the deal is. I've had issues with parts slipping before, or you know, gears sometimes popping out when they're worn out. That's all normal. This is not. That Bachmann was born bad like Christine. Yeah, it's bad to the bone. Unless, of course, the commutator was bad and the sound is just it arcing horribly, and it had nothing to do with the driveline. See if we just do like a neutral drop on it. Well, now it's just gotten even worse. We're about to see the motor just cook. It's like it's screaming. I wonder if maybe the chassis is actually clamping down on the flywheels. Let's try backing these screws off a little bit here. I will say that it does look like this is moving around quite a bit in that sleeve. I just wonder if that maybe has a little too much play. At a GP30 that had issues similar to this. So pivoting nicely. Try changing out the conductor and the engineer. Now that's a good idea. Okay, I've got an idea. It might be one of those, it's so stupid it might just work kind of things. But if we just find a piece of heat shrink that's like barely big enough just to fit over there, maybe it will kind of fix that slipping. You get what I mean? I don't think we could make this thing any worse at this point. Just keep throwing, you know, money and materials into it. I don't know if that will work, but we can just kind of get something to kind of wrap around this. You should get a job at the shops in Altoona, PA. I think they'd appreciate your skills. Kind of doubtful, but yeah, let's give it one last kick. We need not Sybil, but is it Basil from Faulty Towers? When he's like, if you don't start, I'll give you a damn good smashing. And now it's derailed. Let's try. See, that will stress test it, and and I guess that's what it was. That's got it. I think that might be the problem. It's the drive shaft slipping in the flywheel. Yeah, I don't know. I probably should have known when, right off the bat, this was not the same size. Stuff the flywheel full of sticky tack. I'm worried that it will be out of balance. See, this is probably what I should have done the first time. It's like actually leave this part connected. I think I might have got this a little too hot and melted the, the end of the drive shaft. Oh boy. I think the plastic nubs just flattened out. I really thought they could take a little more heat than that, but clearly I was wrong. Yeah, it just and it went. Well, if this is not a sign that this whole thing was doomed, I don't know what is. So I think, unfortunately, I'm gonna have to take the L and call it a night here. Whether or not this locomotive is doomed overall, I think that there is probably a way to get it running again. I think just buying an OEM drive shaft instead of trying to like kind of jimmy parts together would be a better idea. But yeah, what a bad engine. Hammer time. If it wasn't an engine that somebody sent in, I would consider it, but I don't know. This if somebody sent this to the channel, this could have meant something to somebody, and so if I go destroying it, I don't feel like that'd be terribly respectful there. But yeah, not great. I really thought we had this one, and not so much, but I appreciate all of you for joining me this evening, trying to repair this. I do appreciate all the advice. I think that there were a lot of really good ideas, like, you know, using a less flexible drive shaft and stuff, but alas, I think we're just not working with the right kind of parts. I think there's just a bit too much space in there, so for what this is, it's just not gonna work. He disrespected you by sending it. No. Scott Rails, you wake up at 3 a.m. and say, aha. Yeah, exactly. I don't know. I'll keep working at this thing. We'll see it run in a future live stream when I find some other parts in my part bin that will make it happen. But until then, I think we'll call it an evening. It's a live sort of. It did run for 15 minutes, just not so well after that. What I'm thinking probably happened was for that first bit, it was running okay. The little nubs on the end were just big enough to kind of grip whatever was in there. And then I think as we were running it around, it wore those down and then it started to slip. And then that's why, you know, when I was trying all those other tricks, didn't seem to do much. So, yeah. Anyway, have a great night, everyone.